What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So going into this upcoming week, you do have a certain level of optimism because S&P did have 9 consecutive green days in a row, and that has not happened in the last about 15 to 20 years. So going into this upcoming week, there's a good consensus that that is going to continue. In addition to that, though, you also have the fear and greed index under the fear category and most likely inching to the neutral early on in the week, meaning people's appetite for risk is increasing. And if we get some clarity on some tariffs, because Trump did state in the next couple weeks, meaning this week, we will be seeing some deals. Probably India, but better yet, China possibly, but that will be a huge catalyst for the broader market and most likely is exactly what big money is waiting on to rotate out of money markets back into equities, similar to what happened between 2020 and 2021. And we did see a lot of stocks during that rotation back then hit all-time highs. So most likely that could happen this time around as well. In fact, even the Elliott Wave Technicals is already projecting for SoFi to pretty much hit all-time highs. So it does have a pivot point of 1160, and for as long as SoFi is above that, then it is anticipated to kind of get between that 1721 and 1857. But aside from that, though, we have a lot of big data points coming out. So Monday we have ISM services. Current forecast on that is 50.3. Trade balance on Tuesday. Wednesday we have the dreaded interest rate decision, and based on this it is fair to assume that there won't be any cut unless you're very optimistic, because it does show a 2.8% likelihood of that occurring. But nonetheless, though, it is what Powell says afterwards. So most likely he's going to be very vague on tariffs because he doesn't like to bring up specifics, but nonetheless, that could cause some volatility in the market. And what I find very interesting is Trump most likely will be speaking up about the interest rate decision or lack of cuts, as well as the trade balance, because that might kind of get him talking about tariffs and so forth again. So market doesn't like that type of uncertainty. Even on a Sunday, Trump just posted this, or he stated this. So Trump says he won't remove Powell before his term as chair of Federal Reserve ending in 2026. So at the end of the day, it'd be very interesting to see how, if his tune does change or something along those lines. So that should be a very rocky Wednesday, so that's coming out at 1 o'clock. Aside from that, Thursday, typical stuff, so initial jobless claims, and then Friday you have a hell of a lot of Fed speakers, and most likely they'll be talking about tariffs, impact to that, to the broader market, monetary policy, and everything. So just anticipate a lot of volatility. In addition to that, though, you have a lot of big companies unveiling their earnings, a lot of speculative ones such as Palantir, HIMS, you have SMCI, Celsius, a lot of big names that could really move their respective kind of sectors. So just kind of anticipate that. But specific to SoFi, the only one I feel could really move it would maybe be Coinbase, but still, even aside from that, not really most likely. But over and above all of that, though, shorts. So 13.79% of the free float is being shorted. So that's what we're going into this upcoming week with. 149.58 million shares, cost of our average 0.11, and then the minimum is still negative as per kind of usual. So I do feel shorts will be fairly active this upcoming week, dependent on a lot of the data points and what is happening on a macro standpoint. But I feel with SoFi's earnings and them continuously having phenomenal growth, it's kind of advisable for them to not really get over that 15% range. So most likely for at least the foreseeable future, it'll continue to be between that 12 to 15% range up until either we have that nice rotation, broader market rotation happen, or something all hell breaks loose in the broader market. So let me know your viewpoint on that, with SoFi closing above that 1250 mark. So that does mean that over here, the 10,000 at that 1250, 9,000 at that 12, and then 9,000 at 1150 is all in the money, meaning you might have a nice little bump up come Monday. So that might be a good kind of momentum builder. So roughly around 2.5 or 2.8 million shares do need to be covered. So that's always a good thing. Going into this upcoming week, though, with it at 1270, trading between these 2 points, so this R1 and the pivot, 1214 is going to be a strong support. Flip side, 1312 and then 1372 is going to be the next strong target slash resistance points on the actual chart itself. So you do have it right now above the 50-day moving average. So it's kind of just wedge bound between that 50 and 100. And most likely this week will be that breaking point for one of those. So 50-day moving average is 1217. Then you also do have a secondary support level of 1177. That's a 200-day moving average. Flip side, 100 is sitting at 1394. In my opinion, I think you will have a couple of days throughout the week of consolidation, negative data points, and I think most of that will be oriented towards like that Tuesday, Wednesday. So most likely Trump might be the attributing factor to the broader market kind of pulling back, but no like index really goes up for even on Wednesday. So that would be 12 consecutive days, and like I don't think that's feasible without having some level of consolidation. So let me know your viewpoint on that, but I think overall this week we will still be in the green and most likely closing between this R2 and this R1. I'm sure a lot of individuals will say, hey, no, we're going to have FOMO. It's going to get like $15, $20. Realistically, I think 1372 to 1312 is somewhat realistic unless we do get a China deal. Like broader market seems to be focusing and talking a lot on like India, but I don't really see that as a huge catalyst. I think that's just a move in the right direction, showing that Trump's actually doing something, but I don't really see it that beneficial to the broader market. If a China deal does come out, then yeah, most likely will be between that R3 and R2, but realistically, I think this week we'll be landing somewhere in between this range. So let me know your viewpoint. Do you disagree? What's your 2 cents? Where do you see things going? Is there another catalyst that is coming up that you are maybe aware of? Because I don't think specific to SoFi there's any fireside chats, no interviews planned or anything. So let me know your thoughts. One final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need. So pop over there and take a look. And that said, hopefully everyone's having a kick-ass weekend and you guys have a good rest of the day. Appreciate all you watching.